Hi, this is Rabbi Rami Goldberg, and welcome to Biblical Money, powered by Israel 365, where we take a deep dive into how people of faith enhance their business by staying true to their biblical principles. We interview leading CEOs, executives, and entrepreneurs to capture their wisdom to help us live our most fulfilled and faithful lives. Please like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date and informed. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Biblical Money. I'm really excited. I'm Rabbi Rami Goldberg. I'm excited to be here with a near and dear friend, Pastor Jonathon Serenil.
There you go.
How did I do?
You got it. Yeah,
the
pretty
Spanish.
close.
Okay. I don't know a word of Spanish, but we are here discussing, as always, biblical principles for business, faith, and finance. And I'm really excited to welcome Jonathon to the show. We hear about some of the things that he's working on, which I think is one of the most innovative and exciting developments within business and networking, but I'll let him talk more about it. But before we get to UniteSA, give us a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up, and what gave you this passion, this heart for Bible and for business?
Yeah. No, thank you, Rabbi Rami, for inviting me on this. When you told me about it, I thought it was obviously a great opportunity, but more importantly, I think it's greatly needed. I'm here in San Antonio, Texas, in the United States of America, and even in my neck of the woods, so to speak, I know that this is a topic that is rarely touched on in the Western Christian church, and but it's needed. It's needed because many times it's misinterpreted, misunderstood, and even maybe sometimes shunned, and people are scared of it. So thank you for doing what you're doing. I love it. But regarding me and my background, my name's Jonathon. I have a family here in San Antonio, Texas, born and raised. My wife and I have 6 boys, and we have another boy coming in a couple of months, which means we'll have 7 boys. Yeah, 7 boys very soon.
King David had 7 boys in the family, right? He was the 7th.
Yeah. So was he the 7th or the 8th? I was thinking the 8th. No?
It could be. I'd have to.
But the point is that he had a lot of boys. So same here. We have a lot of boys. We have 7th boy coming again in November, and we don't know what God may do with after that. We're just open to Him blessing us, because the Bible does tell us that children and kids are a blessing, and so it's you know it just like I do, but it's like an arrow in the hand of a warrior in his quiver, and so who are we to say I think we got enough blessings, or I think we got enough arrows, So we're all for it. But again, born and raised here in San Antonio, Texas. I grew up in the Christian church for the most part, but as of lately, I really feel like God's called me to a particular thing, and that is UniteSA and other things, and so we are trying our best to see that happen, not only here but eventually throughout the world.
Yeah, it's amazing, and we're going to get into UniteSA, which was like kind of started within the church and then spun it out beyond that. So tell us about that. I just want to say one story that we had a conversation a couple of months ago, and we'll talk about networking, and you said you want to network like the way the Jews do, and the Jewish people, one of the challenges, and which works to our advantage, is we are very small. We're very small people, maybe 15 million worldwide, and you can always get to, everybody can get to everybody, and it's a pretty small world, which helps as far as business and networking. In the Christian world, a lot more difficult to network with 2 billion people, and so that's why you started UniteSA. So tell us about what you guys are working on.
Yeah, you're right. Going back to that story, you said a specific stat. I don't know if it's an actual stat, but you said something about within 2 or 3 people. What was that again? That you can,
it's probably 2 to 3 degrees of separation. You can get to just about every Jew.
And that idea is, without really knowing that, but just understanding the concept is kind of how and why UniteSA was born. And so you're right, the segment of population when it comes to the Jews is a lot smaller than in Christianity worldwide, but that's actually an indictment against us. The fact that you guys are able to do what you've done, obviously, I believe God is with you and for you, and all of that we read in the Bible. So, outside of that big God thing, right? Just statistically speaking or historically speaking, it's amazing that this segment of population in the world, which is a minority and a very, very small fraction of a minority, has not only sustained itself, but also has thrived and has become not only a major force in the world politically, but economically, and a number of different things. The point is that here we are, Christians, 2 billion people, like you mentioned, and we don't have near the unity, nearly the strength as of right now. And I think that's part of the big reason why we started UniteSA in a sense, because it's called UniteSA, which stands for Unite San Antonio, which is again where I'm at. But the whole goal is to eventually do a Unite Austin, a Unite Dallas, which are cities in Texas, a Unite Jerusalem, a Unite whatever city there is that has a Christian body of people. And the whole point is to unite and to come together. And on a simplistic level, it's a platform, an online platform where people can go and find Christian ministries, Christian churches, Christian businesses, even really just efforts. If there is something that you are doing in your community that you would like to voice and let people know about, so that maybe people can help you, or maybe they're just aware of what you're doing, like feeding the homeless or helping different groups of people in your area. We want to kind of be a platform where you can voice that, and where it's a friendly platform, knowing that it's a Christian community that is kind of checking these things out and interested. They're just people in our city specifically that are conscious of how they would spend their money and how they would spend their time. And more, they're becoming even more conscious about that. And they're asking, are there people that think like me and people that believe like me? And if there are, I'd love to know about them, because I might want to buy their services or their products, or even partner with them when it comes to any endeavor.
We actually have a statement within Maimonides, and he talks about a person should want to work with a Torah scholar, and which, so if I have a certain amount of money and the Torah scholar has some form of business, whatever it might be, and so we try to work, because that also, there's a sense of trust that we have with this person. This is a person who represents God. I think that's like a very important thing, that as God has been pulled out of the classroom, as he's been pulled out of public spaces, it becomes more and more difficult for us on both sides of the aisle, Christians and Jews, to find people that have those same biblical principles to work together with. And so really, pulling that together and saying, okay, let us work together. Let us find opportunities where, if I have to get my car washed, so let me go to a Christian car wash, or, another Bible-believing person that we should connect.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I'll add to that is UniteSA is kind of built upon this idea and this belief that God is a better choice or option when it comes to any system. And so, the capitalistic system, or whatever it may be, whether it's social, whether it's economy, whether it's politically, there's some decent systems out there, and there's some great ones. I mean, you look at what's afforded, at least for the most part, the United States of America's opportunity to be a leader in the world. There was a system, and there was a process, or there was ideas, and we have our Constitution, and we have our Declaration of Independence. There are things when it comes to like a system that can work well, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything that could compete, obviously, with God and what His capabilities and everything that goes along with it. And so, when we talk about UniteSA and that system, what I'm really trying to say is we don't have to tell people to give to a particular entity, whether, again, it be government or anything. You don't have to give to us and then we'll disperse it and then we'll share it, because we know how to help the different groups and different people all over the world, or even in our own city. All we're saying is, hey, let the economic engine of our society and God, using people, pulling on the heartstrings of people and talking to people and speaking to them through His word, let God lead them and begin to distribute money and really resources and information to each other. And then all of a sudden there's this whirlwind that happens that may look chaotic, but at the same time, God's doing this beautiful, beautiful thing. And there's this narrative that's happening where I don't really know how it works. All I know is I just kind of shared with people some ideas and some opportunities where people can sow into people's businesses locally. And they are like-minded, they are like-spirited, but somehow or another, God has taken that and built this economy, even in our little city of San Antonio, built this economy that becomes a force. And all of a sudden it's with people that have opportunity to use that at their own discretion, built and based upon certain beliefs and principles.
It's interesting, and I think part of the strength of the American system is that the founding fathers were tied into biblical principles. Someone told me recently that the number one book in all of Bible that was quoted in the writings of the founding fathers was the book of Deuteronomy. And if you look throughout the book of Deuteronomy, it's about nation building. It's about building up a nation. So they continuously and constantly built up this. They always look to the book of Deuteronomy as building up a nation, and that's really what they were looking to do.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and we're proud of the fact that that is our heritage. Now, as of lately, over the last century, or maybe a little less, like you said, taking God out of schools and things like that, there seems to be this fight against that and trying to either hide it or diminish it, remove it outright. But the fact is that you're right. Like our founders and our founding documents have many biblical principles written or just kind of threaded all through it. And I think that that's one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why we are where we're at today. The problem is that if we don't adhere to that, talking about Deuteronomy, I mean, you get to Deuteronomy 28, it starts talking about, and if you don't, even in Deuteronomy chapter 8, if you don't do these things, there's also another side to this. And so I believe that the United States is beginning to step into that, unfortunately, and we are starting to see this tide change where we're not keeping with those guidelines and those principles. We're not adhering to those. We're not living by those things, and unfortunately, I think we'll see something horrific happen if we keep on going down this road. And again, it's one of the reasons why we started UniteSA, because of that. Like we're trying to push back against that fight.
I think it's important. It's important to say, but it's not an exclusionary practice. It's to highlight. You want to highlight and you want to bring God into your business as. Yeah. Part of Jewish tradition, it says that there are three people that create man. There's the Father, his mother, and God are all part of the creation of man. And in many ways, it's within business. You want to have a partner. You want to make sure that your partner is working alongside you. So make God your partner. And I think the more that we talk about him, and the more that he's invested in what we do, I think the further we our businesses can go and can grow.
Yeah, no, you're right. I love the way you put it, because we explain it like that many times. It's just an opportunity. God is so gracious with us as His creation, mankind, that He doesn't mandate. He doesn't say that we have to do these things. I mean, He does give us commandments and decrees and precepts and things like that, but it's all for our better. And if we don't understand that, then obviously, we go down the wrong road. But the point is that He's inviting us into this opportunity is really what it is. And it's the same thing that we're doing with UniteSA. If you're a Christian, if you are a Bible believing person here in San Antonio, and you don't want to use these businesses, you don't have to. It's not like you are taking an oath and because you're a part of this, you have to. No, it's just simply an opportunity for us to really put God at His word and say, hey, look, we want to come together, Psalms 133. We want to see the brethren dwell together in unity. And if that's the case and that happens, I believe that verse 3 of that chapter says that there's a commanded blessing. And so we would like to see that and the fruits of it.
So tell us about, I know you have these meetups. Tell us a success story of one of the meetups that you've had between different people. I'm sure you have many.
So first I'll tell you, for anybody that may not be familiar with what we are doing, you can find our platform online at UniteSATX.com, which basically stands for San Antonio, Texas. I tried to get UniteSA, but there was a Unite South Africa, and so it was taken. But
it's funny because South Africa, the country code is actually ZA, so it's funny that they
really.
Yeah,
I looked it up and I thought maybe it was like South Arizona, which is a state here in the United States, but I found something with South Africa. So anyhow, UniteSATX.com is our website. So on our online platform, again on our website, you can use the search engine on our homepage to just search for any type of items or products or even events. You can type in dry cleaning, or you can type in wedding cake, whatever you're looking for. And if there is a listing, which is a business or a ministry, a church, a nonprofit that's here in San Antonio that is associated with that and is listed on our platform, you can find them. So online, you can do those things. You can find a list of events, you can find a list of coupons and things of that nature. But in regards to what you were talking about, we also have an in-person portion of our network where we want to gather, and we do that twice a month. And some amazing things happens. We have these referral and collaboration meetings where we have an opportunity for people to introduce themselves and say, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and we always ask them to give a ask. So in 20 seconds, give an ask and tell us what it is that you're looking for right now. If you're a business and right now you're focusing on teachers, or you're focusing on law enforcement, or whatever it may be, just mention that, because there's someone in the group, most likely that's there in the room, that will hear that and say, I know somebody, I'm that, or whatever it may be, and the collaboration begins to happen. So in those meetings, we've now had 8 of them, and so we just started this about 3 months ago, because again, our platform just started about 4 months ago. But in this early time, we've seen some amazing things happen. And I want to point out 2. One that specifically just came about and I heard about yesterday, which is similar to many of them, but then I also want to mention one that had come up before. And so the one that we've been doing, and it's kind of came up about 2 months ago, we had a member that is actually a part of law enforcement here in San Antonio. So the police department, which is SAPD, San Antonio Police Department, he's one of our members. This specific person is the leader of the Community Engagement Task Force within the police department here in San Antonio. So he comes and he's just checking out and engaging with the community, which is kind of his job description. And he is a Christian believer, and so he comes, he's part of the network, and in his ask, he just mentions, hey, I just came from this conference. I heard these other law enforcement agencies across the nation, this specifically one near Boston, Massachusetts, mentioned an initiative that they had been working on, and it touched me so deeply because it's something that I've always wanted to do. And so when I heard that they were doing it, I've just been really excited the last couple of weeks. And so he says, this is what it is. I would love to get an ice cream truck and take it into specific neighborhoods in our city that might not have the greatest relationship in regards to that community and the police department or law enforcement, period. And I'd like to go in, give out free ice cream, and just begin to have conversations and repair broken relationships in those communities. And so he mentions that. He sits down, and the person right next to him stands up and says, during his little pitch, he says, oh, my name's Andrew, and I have a food truck. And in fact, his ask was, I'm selling my food truck. And so I was actually going to ask to see if anybody knew of anybody that was interested in buying one. So obviously, we look at each other, and everybody's kind of like, oh, wow, he was just talking about that. The next thing that happens is someone in the group says, hey, I have a media business, and I do documentation when it comes to film and stuff. I'd love to do a little film and kind of talk about this idea and see if we can raise some money. And then the next person stands up and says, hey, well, we're a bunch of business owners here. Like, maybe some of us are able to pitch in. How many of us are here? And we start counting, and there's over 30. And they said, well, what if we just everyone pitched in $1,000 and we bought this truck and donated it to SAPD on behalf of UniteSA? And so anyways, long story short, over the last 8 weeks, we've actually bought the truck. We are actually having it wrapped right now. It will be ready by hopefully next Wednesday, and this thing will be out in the streets of San Antonio within the next couple of weeks in October. And we will be out doing 3 things. The truck is called Police, Popsicles, and Prayer. And so basically we're going to have law enforcement, which is the police, come out and get some popsicles, which we'll have in the truck. We'll go to a community. We'll have prayer teams that will be leading people in prayer. And if they want, you don't have to have prayer, but we just want to be on standby. And we'll have police, popsicles, and prayer available for anytime we take this truck out into the community.
That's amazing. It's an amazing story because the police definitely have challenges with different communities, and by reducing that tension, you make it easier for the police. You bring people into faith. Kids who doesn't love a popsicle, give out, especially in the Texas sun.
Oh man.
And so
we joke. We joke because like you're talking about the heat here in Texas. we don't get much of a winter. So like we might even be giving out popsicles in November, December time going into January because we have such a short winter. And even then it's not really cold. So we might be doing this year round.
That's amazing. I'm sure there's probably some people there that want to sponsor the popsicles as well.
So that's what we've been doing over the last few weeks, and we've actually had several come up and do that. And so it's been amazing. The point is that we came together as a community, and we saw an opportunity to kind of invest into one another, and not just in ourselves, and to invest in one another. And people have united here in San Antonio, which again we are UniteSA. They've come alongside each other, and we've made something happen that may not have happened if it wasn't for a group of people like us.
Right. And these are all business owners, people who are trying to make a profit on the same token, but trying to do things and do God's work in an honest way.
Exactly. So I want to point out the other story that I was talking about, because what you just said right now was like, these are business owners. So the natural inclination is, well, we need to watch out for ourselves, and I need to make sure that I protect, my investment and feed my family and things of that nature. And basically the idea is, it's about my legacy, and that comes before anything else, right? Well, that narrative actually is destroyed within something like what we're doing, again, UniteSA, with a story like this. And this is pretty common, but this one was just told to me yesterday, and it's the freshest thing on my mind, so I want to share it. But so a couple of meetings ago, we found that some of our people were startups, and they needed some help and some resources, and so we decided to launch a small little workshop, which was called a Business Accelerator Workshop. We had a particular marketing professional that was in our group that said, hey, I will do a small workshop, 2 hours, and try to just give some information. And if people want to continue beyond that, they can. Well, in that small little workshop, we had a handful of people that came. We capped it at 8 people, and we had 8 people come. And in that on that table, in that workshop, a particular gentleman afterwards comes up to the person who was presenting, which was our marketing professional, and he says, man, I really appreciate what you did. 1, thank you for taking your time and doing this, but 2, I've learned a lot, and I would just like to help if I can. And he says, can I introduce you to people as I meet some people and things of that nature? He says, yeah, sure. So within a week, he runs into he's known a business owner that has a very large window cleaning business here in San Antonio. And they've been doing it for 30 years. In fact, I've been told, I haven't checked it, so some of you guys can fact check this, but I've been told that he actually holds the Guinness Book of World Records title for the fastest window cleaning, or the fastest window cleaner. And so anyhow, he holds this and he shares it many times, but he's well known, is the point, and he's a very large company. So he actually tells, by this person that again is introducing our friend to him, says, hey, I'd like to tell you about this group, UniteSA, and my friend Jason. And so he invites him to come to a lunch. Well, in the midst of that, when they were about to have this lunch the following week, my friend Jason, who is the marketing professional in our network, he or at least one of them, he meets somebody who, as he's talking to him, he mentions that he wants to start a window cleaning business. But the whole purpose of him starting this window cleaning business was because he is a pastor, and he wants to come up with a side or an income to be able to not only support him in his pastoralship, but also for him to be able to support other ministries, especially like ones that would go out beyond San Antonio. And so he says, I just want to kind of do this to help propel that. So this meeting happens, all 4 of them end up showing up. This budding entrepreneur who wants to start a window cleaning business, a existing window cleaning business, and these 2 people that have introduced them. In the midst of the conversation, long story short, they're talking about one another, and the new guy says, this is why I want to do it. The older guy says, I love it. I want to help you. I have equipment. I have information. I have contacts. I want to help give that to you. I want to help your business get off the ground. And this guy's saying like, wow, that really? And so just from yesterday's lunch, because this happened yesterday, from yesterday's lunch, there's this ongoing conversation where this person who's not necessarily concerned about his own legacy, but more about the God and his will in our city, says, I'll pour into you. And even if that's at my own cost, I want to help ensure your legacy and really ensure the community's legacy here in San Antonio when it comes to the faith. And so things like that happen all the time, and it happens because of not just our network, but the idea and the concept of our network.
Yeah, it's for sure. And people a lot of times think that, I need to cut off the other person in order to because the pie is only so big. But God's pie is infinite, and it can just be expanded. And ultimately, I mean, one thing that we're coming up on the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and next week, I don't know when this will be recorded, will be after, but or released, I should say. But we know that God grants us on the new year everything that you're going to make throughout the course of the coming year. So there's no point for me to lie, cheat, and steal. And exactly the opposite. Let me go ahead and help others, and even at times competitors. I mean, it's always a difficult balance. We're to have that, but there's a word that I heard that they use in the industry called co-opetition, where it's it's cooperation and competition put together. But that's amazing. You guys also have a Blessed by Israel part of the ministry. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we definitely have something like that we want to put in effect in full force right now. It's just something that we're just getting started. We haven't fully released it and pushed it out yet, but it's called the I Love Israel Project, and basically it's an opportunity for us to connect what's happening here in San Antonio to what's happening in Israel. And we want to do that not only through news and information and resources, but also through products and services. So if there are actual products or companies or businesses that are being operated and functioning in Israel, we want to give opportunity for people here in San Antonio who, for us, Bible-believing Christians who believe in the Tanakh as much as the whole Bible for us, that we believe that the Jewish people and the Israel homeland is special in the heart of God, and we want, according to what we read in Genesis, to be able to bless them, because we know that blessings and cursings come from that. So we want to pour in. We want to do that for all people, but especially what we find to be said in the Bible regarding the people of God. And so we would love to be able to sow into people's ministries, into their faith, but then also into their businesses in Israel. And so it's called the I Love Israel Project. We'll be putting that out soon, but that is the idea, and that's a big component of who we are. Yeah,
it's amazing to always be giving forward, and paying it forward, and both and something that I've spoken a lot about with our guests is how a lot of times people view business as, okay, there's one side, there's business, and then there's ministry on the other. And what I love about UniteSA is you guys have kind of pulled the two together, where people can continue again to make a profit, which is certainly biblical. We know that all of our forefathers were very wealthy. They did very well in business, but that's as a blessing. But then that blessing, once you're that senior window washer, you can go ahead and help the next guy out.
Exactly. And honestly, I mean, that's what's going to stand. After you're gone from here, the legacy is not going to be necessarily what you can take, because we know there's nothing that you can take. It's more about what you leave and what you establish here in the earth for others to continue with. And so you're exactly right. We, because of our biblical understanding and the love for God's word, we want to do our best to live by that. Not only at home and not only walking in our city and doing different things, but even in our occupations, even in our professions, whatever it may be, we want to do that. And so UniteSA is kind of an opportunity for you to have that hybrid and for you to bring it all together. You don't have to leave your faith at the door when you go to work. You don't have to leave your faith at the door when you go into school or you go into the political arena. I believe that those those foundational principles and values are obviously integrated into who we are, and they come out in our speech, they come out in our actions and our thoughts. And so when it comes to business, why would we check that at the door? Why would we leave that behind? And so we just want to give people an opportunity to live that out, but then also be encouraged by the simple fact that you're not alone. When you look through our network, you find out, again, it's only been 4 months, but we're coming up on 200 members now. You start realizing, I'm not by myself. I'm not the only one who thinks like this. There are others. And if we partner together, we'll be stronger and better together.
Yeah, there's also a lot of investors that are out there that are finding, well, I want to also invest money into like-minded businesses. One thing that is actually fascinating within the Bible, you're not supposed to take, you're not supposed to give loans with interest. Is and so part of the idea behind that is that you now have the wealthy person. So the wealthy person could either lend their money to the poor at no interest, in which case he's not earning anything. So that money is really dead money. Yeah, I mean, he'll probably get paid. Hopefully, he'll get paid back. But the Bible is actually incentivizing the wealthy person to invest with the poor person.
Yeah.
How did he get wealthy? Because he had his own business and he did such a good job. So have him work now alongside the poor person to build him up and give him that level of confidence and advice, which is so necessary.
No, you're exactly right. And I'll just point out one thing, like, this is bold, this is crazy, maybe. But we believe that when we're able to come together like this and we can pool not only our resources, but even our finances together in a community, I mean, we basically can become our own funding opportunities in some ways. And so I think that that's something that would be inevitable at some point, like for us to be able to say, hey, let's invest in ourselves. Let's invest into the infrastructure of our own city and our own communities, for not just for us. Again, it's that whole idea of the legacy. It's like we're after something bigger than just me and my family. This is something that involves all of us, because together we're one big family. And so going back to what you started with this podcast, it's trying to learn and understand what the Jewish people have known and done for so long now. And we, as Christians, are so far behind. We're so disconnected and fragmented that I believe we can learn a lot, and we can begin to do more if we just understood some of these simple things. And
I know that you have your sights set on something much more than San Antonio. So where is this going to go? What are we looking at in when's this go public? No, but what's the 18 to 24 months? What are you looking at?
Yeah, see. So I'm not the business mind or anything like that. I feel like God's kind of placed me in this, which is a stretch for me, and so I try to lean on Him as much as I can, so that way I can come up with some of those things, right? But I don't know exactly where we'll be at in 1824, but I do believe, and because we do believe that we will be in other cities, and we've already gotten some interest from some other cities locally here in Texas. We've had people as far as Dallas, which is about a 5-hour drive from us, started reaching out and said, hey, I've heard what you guys are doing, and is this a franchise? Like, how does this work? We'd like to bring this up here. And we know we will, and actually we're working on that right now, the formation of it and the legal part of it. We're trying to figure out what's the best way for us to not only do what we're doing here in San Antonio, but duplicate this and replicate this and take it to not just other cities in our nation, but throughout the world. Because, like you said, 2 billion Christians all over the world, there's a very good chance that there is a body of Christian people in almost every region. And so all we want to do is take our technology, take our concept, and be able to give those people access to it, and they begin to plug in their businesses, their organizations, and people can begin to connect immediately.
Yeah, and it's I think it's just, again, it's so important. You see the really the miracles that happen when people come out of their caves, and we've been, kind of this internet has in many ways forced us to be separate from each other rather than there being these communities, and you're harnessing that technology and then creating physical meetups, because those physical meetups, when you have 60, 70, 80 people in a room together, and someone stands up and says, can you help a brother out? And someone else says, yeah, sure. I actually know exactly what you're going through. And these are amazing opportunities. I know that I've had the pleasure of mentoring some people, at different times. And there's nothing greater than saying, oh, wow, I actually know how to do this. And maybe for me it's easy, or I've made those mistakes already, and now I can give it over to the next person and let them grow from it. So it's really amazing.
And the fruit of that is really what we're after. I mean, the Bible does not lie when it says that there is a sowing and reaping understanding or aspect to it. You know, whether it's money, whether it's time, whatever you're investing, I believe that what you sow, you're going to reap, good or bad. And so we want to encourage people to be able to do that. And so that's, again, pointing back to this idea of it's not about my legacy, but it's about what God has in store for not just you, but for the city and beyond.
Yeah, I'm like, so I know we've been in touch for months and kind of seeing the growth and how you went from this, flyer and this itty bitty website to something which is formidable and moving, and really just the beginning. So it's really
I appreciate that.
To watch and to advise when I can.
Definitely.
So. So we'll start wrapping things up. So try to end off with a couple of rapid fire questions. Favorite place to visit when you have some vacation time? Where do you like to go?
Like me and my wife, we just started being able to take vacations. I mean, we had kids back to back, and so almost every year it was like, well, my wife's pregnant. She doesn't want to get in a car and drive for hours, right? But recently we've been able to make it over to the Ozarks here in the United States. It's a wooded forest area in the center of the United States. And so there's a number of cities, and it actually encompasses like almost parts of 4 states, which is a very large area. But it's a beautiful, serene place. I mean, there's lakes, there's hills, there's valleys. It's amazing. So love visiting there. We also like going to Colorado where the mountains are. And we have yet to be, but number one on our list when we can is to go to Jerusalem. We'd love to be able to go to Israel, period, but Jerusalem, that must happen at some point. Yeah,
definitely. We'll be waiting here to greet you on this end when you do make it, and that opportunity presents itself. Unfortunately, it's not even the war that's the challenge. The challenge right now is the fact that there's only one airline flying, so it's
really?
It's really, I mean, it kind of depends on the day and what's going on, but I mean, El Al continues to fly, but the ticket prices have become so astronomical.
Wow.
But hopefully very soon this will come to an end, and we'll be able to visit. I like to ask also a book recommendation, something that inspires you in your business thinking or in your Bible thinking.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure you would know this. I think we had mentioned it once before, but I was just asked this last week too. I was in a small little conference. I was on a panel, and someone asked, favorite book, and immediately what came to me and what comes to me right now is the book called the Sabbath. And so I think I've shared it with you before.
A.J. Heschel, right? That's the...
Yes, Rabbi. Was he a rabbi? Is he Rabbi Heschel, or was it just...
Yeah, I believe he had a rabbinic degree. I
okay.
Have to check that one. We'll check that one. We'll get the fact checkers over here.
Yeah, along with the World Guinness Book Record holder thing that we were talking about. But yes, Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote that book, The Sabbath. And for me, it's what really... caused me to kind of rethink and really try to live what I read in the Bible. I mean, before that, I knew about the Sabbath, read about it, could point to some verses, and may have said, like, I do that in my heart type of thing. But it wasn't until I got that book, I read it, and it kind of just really captivated me, primarily because of the way that he expresses the Sabbath in that book. It's not it's not so much a thing that we need to do. It's more of this beautiful opportunity and this invitation, and he describes like in Jewish literature many times it's described as a queen or a bride, and so I just fell into that, started reading that several years back, and that's really a change, not only my life, but an approach that I've had in many things, because that Sabbath, that rest, that choosing to desist and just step away and say, like, I'm going to honor this and honor God, really. I mean, that's changed even my business approach. It's changed my ministry approach. It's changed many things in my life.
Yeah, and it's just a great time. I mean, you have so many kids, and you're running around a whole week, and to disconnect and to disconnect to reconnect, as they say, to focus your attention on your kids rather than running after the business. And I think that's a very important aspect to business, to take that time out and to recognize it doesn't have to be go, go, go. There can be a time where it's like, let's just stop and let's just come together as a community and prayer and meals together and the like. So last question, favorite book of the Bible?
Oh man, that's a good one. Because we've been studying the Torah a lot more, there were books in the Bible, specifically the Torah, that I just skipped over. Like Leviticus and Numbers, some of it, Deuteronomy. It was just like, especially when you get to the familial lines, the heritage, and you start talking about the generations and things like that. Yeah, I was just like, okay,
eyes glaze over.
Yeah, and then just other things that I didn't understand. But with all that to be said, now, I'm trying to understand it and learn it from a different perspective. And man, it's taking a new life for me. It's taking new life within my study for me. And so I'd have to say right now that Genesis is, there's a lot in there, so much. I love the storytelling. I love the foundational parts of it when it comes to not only to the nation of Israel, but to the family. So there's so many aspects. There's dreams, there's visions, there's fights, there's wars, there's creation, so much. And I'd probably have to say that Genesis is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. It's still out for debate. I'm still trying to figure that out. But
I think what's amazing is each time you go through the story, you can see it through a different perspective. So when you're reading the story of Jacob's sons and fighting, whatever. So when you're younger, you read it as a kid. Okay, I'm fighting between my brothers, and then as you get older, you see it from a father's perspective, and it grows with you. The stories. So
yeah, for sure. And Joseph is the story that my middle name is Joseph, and so I don't know if it's just because of that or what, but there's this. I'm just drawn to that story, and it's fascinating.
Amazing, Jonathon. I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing, for taking the time, and wanted to just give you a blessing on that. You should continue with much success, and UniteSA should become Unite, and then you got about 5 million cities throughout the United States as unite them, and then go nationally and God should continue to bless your handiwork and everything that you do. So wishing you
well, thank you for that.
All the best.
And you've been a great support of that. I've been able to bounce questions off you. You've had great wisdom and knowledge, and so I appreciate your help and your availability that you make. I know we're across the world from each other, but we always find time to connect, and I expect us to have more conversations going forward.
Amazing. Thank you so much.